So let's go back many years. My son was going to college. He was going away to school. The school called me up and said, "When are you going to send us that last $10,000 check?" And I had just learned how to do the meditation. So I did it. I did it step by step, exactly as he taught me how to do it. And you're supposed to do it twice a day. I did it 6 times on the first day. At the end of the first day, nothing happened. And I do it the second day. I do it again 6 times. Nothing. Nothing happens. So finally, I go and I open up some of these bills and I go through the envelopes and I get to the tax bill with the next one I take out and it says, "Dear Ray, you've overpaid the state, no, the federal government $8,200 and something cents, right?" And I read it 3 times and I said, "Wait a minute, overpaid. That's a refund." And then I took out the next letter and it said, "You have overpaid the state of New Jersey 1,800 and something dollars." It's like $10,006 and change. Now you can't make that up. Hey, this is Ray Catania, and I'm on Your Superior Self with
Ooh,
Trey
Ray,
Downs.
Ray, Ray, Ray. I like that, dude. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate it.
yeah, how are you today? Like, what's going on in your world?
Doing really well. Had a great day. Did a few podcasts, had a couple of clients today, and did some work on my new website, which I'm really excited about, especially because I did most of it myself. And
Oh,
I don't know how
man.
to build a website at all. So I'm
I'm right
learning.
there with you, man. Build it and they will come, I guess. I don't know.
I certainly hope so.
Or get lost trying to find you. So I'm really intrigued by your story. You tell it very passionately. I get lost in it. I'm very, I'm attracted to the energy that you um, seem to create when telling this story.
Mm.
Um, but before we get into that, I'm really curious. How do you experience everyday reality?
Everyday reality. Oh my God, it's so different today than it ever was before. I wake up, the first thing I do is I take inventory of the things I'm grateful for, which is, my wife lying next to me, the kids in the next room, the roof over the head. I'm not talking about like material things because they don't matter. Really, important things, the opportunity to be here with you. These are the things that I'm thankful for and grateful for, and that sets the tone for my day. And if something happens throughout the day, then in the evening I do what I call this an attitude of gratitude, and I do it every morning. I do it every night, and I follow it up with a meditation. My reality is really what I want it to be, and I never thought that I could get to that place where I'm in control and it's not controlling me anymore.
Hit on that a little bit, right? Like, what do you mean? Like, are you able
So
to physically manipulate the energy around you for your reality? Or are you talking about
yeah,
external, um, I guess, influences reaching the core of who you are and not really attaching to the story, if that makes sense?
so when I was younger, I would always fight. Right? I did well in business, but I did it fighting, and just scrapping for every inch, every dollar, and did okay. Not going to complain. But I met my mentor, and I walked away from my job after it just didn't align with who I was anymore at a certain point. Once I had a spiritual awakening, and he says to me, he goes, "Well, why are you always fighting?" And I said, "Well, I thought that's what you have to do to get ahead. That's the way I was brought up." And he says, "No." He says, "Why don't you just be the fisherman? Instead of swimming upstream to get the bigger fish, just stand still, wait for them to come down, and take the ones you want and let the rest go by." And I lived with that philosophy and learned the law of attraction, put those together. And I've utilized that ever since. And it's been amazing. And he was my second mentor. He taught me, he's still my mentor today. I'm never leaving him. But that was one of the things that he taught me. And so we can create our reality by bringing it here, by bringing it to you. You don't
Hmm.
need to, you have to create some energy by going out and moving things around. But you don't have to fight. You don't have to beat out the next guy. Somebody doesn't have to do poorly for you to do well. You don't have to sell somebody something. Those things are uh, just not what I do anymore. No
Mm.
desire.
So allowed to come to you. Like, are you talking about the future probability or the potential that you want to be? Are you talking
Yeah, the
about that?
potential. Well, the potential of what I want to be is different. This is more like I'm telling you about my website, right? I have no idea how to build a website, and I didn't expect to figure it out in 5 minutes. But I sat down, I did a meditation, and I basically, said, "Show me the path, show me the way. How do I build the website?" And I built it in 3 days, and it's very big. And admittedly, I did it on Squarespace. I'm not writing code over here, but it's just like there's nothing that's impossible. Everything is possible, and I even say that in my book. I was like, unless with the exception of dunking a basketball, I probably can't do that. But actually, if you think about it, and they let me bring a ladder on the court, I can dunk a basketball.
You can always
There's
lower the you can
nothing.
always lower the hoop, bro. Who says it's
Or
got to
lower
be
the hoop, right,
regulation?
right.
I
So
dunk
that's
every
kind
day.
of, yeah, you dunk every day. That's right. You could
Um,
be you want to be a brain surgeon, you just have to figure out how to be a brain surgeon. Do you want to do 12 years of school or not? But it's not that you can't. The can't is not in my vocabulary.
it sounds like you're quantum jumping a little bit here, and I've just recently come across that terminology where you go in like a meditation and you can connect with that future probability of who you want to be or who you desire to be. And then you can sit in meditation and connect with that and then bring that energy back with you,
Yeah,
which influences some of your decisions or choices and or not like telling you maybe a step by step, but more or less like giving you the information that you need to make that next step or choice to go towards that desire or that probability, if that makes sense.
it does. It does. And if you're in a general space, that's exactly the way you want to do it. You can even ask to be shown the way if you're not certain of where you should go or what you should do. Maybe you're at a crossroads in your life. But when it comes to something very specific that you need to get accomplished, or you need a certain amount of money, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times that I've literally said, gone into my meditation, I need $10,000. I need it now. I need $10,000. I need it now. I don't do pretty please. That doesn't work. That's nonsense. You're a co-creator of this universe. If you need 10,000, you ask for 10,000. You don't ask, you tell. And there's multiple stories in the book. And I don't want to say that this is always done, for money. This can be done for anything, your health, loved ones, happiness, but everybody understands money. So I did it. I used it in the book with money. And I explain how it works, not just how the law of attraction works, but also how it works from a physics standpoint. Understanding that everything's on a frequency, understanding that thoughts are things. Thoughts emit out of your brain, out of your mind, I should say, on a frequency. And you can attract an inanimate object by becoming that object in your mind. It's coming to you. So let's go back many years. My son was going to college. He was going away to school. The school called me up and said, "When are you going to send us that last $10,000 check?" And at that time, wow, I don't have 10,000. What am I going to do here? And I had just learned how to do the meditation. So, and I was very skeptical. I didn't believe it. When my mentor gave it to me, I thought it was hokey pokey. I thought it was nonsense. I was like, this isn't going to work, but I'm going to give it a try because I got nothing else to lose. So I did it. I did it step by step, exactly as he taught me how to do it. And you're supposed to do it twice a day. I did it 6 times on the first day. At the end of the first day, nothing happened. My son came down. My other son came down. He handed me the mail, and I'm going through it, and I'm seeing all these bills, and even my tax bill, and I'm like, "Come on, are you kidding?" I'm looking at like, "Am I doing this the wrong way? Am I doing this wrong?" And I do it the second day. I do it again 6 times. Nothing happens. So finally, I go and I open up some of these bills, and I go through the envelopes, and I get to the tax bill, which was my year-end taxes, and I open it up. I always owe. I'm a 1099 employee, or I was at that time. And I took it out and I read the first letter. It always, my accountant does it the same way every year. It says, "Dear Ray, thanks for your business. You owe us X amount of dollars." Okay, boom, I put that down. Next one I take out, and it says, "Dear Ray, you've overpaid the state, no, the federal government $8,200 and something cents, right?" And I read it three times, and I said, "Wait a minute, overpaid? That's a refund." And then I took out the next letter, and it said, "You have overpaid the state of New Jersey 1,800 and something dollars." It's like $10,006 and change. Now you can't make that up.
Usually
And then I
you
did it
owe money.
three. Yeah, I did it three more times after that, admittedly, and then I started to feel guilty because every time it was just a couple dollars more than what I needed.
So was it always tax, like government giving you like a refund, or was it how
No,
did it
no,
show up for
no. I
you in
did it
your
the next time I did it. I was publishing the first book, and I really didn't have all the money to pay off all the editors, and I wanted to get it out by the end of the year. So I had to pay everybody back, and I owed them maybe $4,000. So I did the same thing. I need $4,000. I need it now. I need 4,000. I need it now. And one day, not one day, it was maybe 3, 4 days later, I open up my bank account online to pay some bills, and I see a deposit for $4,200 with just a bunch of lines next to it. I have no idea who made this deposit into my account. So I copy the lines, and it's a bunch of digits and codes or whatever, and I copy and paste it into Google, and it said, "This is your COVID relief fund."
Hmm.
There it is again.
Hmm.
So then my wife wanted to open the yoga studio, and then we had to put some money down, and I didn't really want to go into like savings to pay for that or anything or extend do but I had to give the guy the money for the lease and the other stuff and blah blah blah. I need 25,000, and I said, "This is not for me. This is none of this actually has been for me yet." I said, "My wife needs this money. We need to open up the yoga studio. She's upset. She wants to advance and blah blah blah. I need 25. I need it now. I need 25. I need it now." The following day, it's still COVID. I go to work and I'm the only one there because no one's allowed to be there. Everybody's working from home. President of the company comes on we do a Zoom chat with everybody that works there. And he says, "Listen, guys, since you're all 1099 employees, you can apply for something that's called PPE money, which is money, basically a loan that you never have to pay back." And I was like, well, I'm part 1099, I'm part W-2. What do I got to lose, right? So I went to Acorn, which is where they told me to go, acorn.com, fill everything out. And I filled everything out. And within 2 seconds, they tell you if you're getting money or not. And 2 seconds later, it said, "Ray, $28,000 will be deposited in your account tomorrow." Now,
Wow.
I didn't ask for 28,000. I didn't put a number. I just said, whatever it is. And it's always the number.
Hmm.
And that's just three different instances within a 6 week period.
What do you think that is, right? Because I feel like there's been so many like examples of law of attraction. Like people talk about it. There's so many coaches, there's so many books about it. Like what makes your method different than those, right?
I don't know that they're different. I don't know all the other methods and how they do it, but with the way it works and the way I found it to work is that everything in the world vibrates, right? And everything that vibrates on a frequency. The floor, for example, that I'm standing on or sitting on, however you want to look at it, I don't fall through it because it vibrates very, very slowly. But if I was to break it apart and take the wood apart into its very, very smallest, the atom, look at an atom, and there's over 90% space in that atom. What is that space? That's energy. And what's that energy doing? It's vibrating. So it's vibrating very slowly, but it's on a frequency. And that's all that matters because, like Tesla told us, energy, frequency, vibration are the secrets to the universe. So you have this energy, it's vibrating on a frequency. You align your thoughts with whatever it is that you want to come to you. And you do it over and again, over and again. And the way you do it is you do a visualization in your mind and you use all five physical senses and you put it in the sixth right here. And then the sixth sense is what's going to push it out. It's like an antenna, if you will. It's like a satellite dish. Look, if I pick up my cell phone right now and I dial your phone number, your phone rings. Why? Because my phone adjusts to your phone's frequency. And that's how we communicate and we exchange information. That's how it works. It's that simple. A radio station, the satellite sends out the music, right? It's on a frequency. And if I tune my radio in just to the right channel, I get to hear the song. But here's the thing, if I'm off just a little bit, what do I get? Static. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to do this right. And there are rules to how you have to do it. So it's not like you can just wing this. You're not going to get everything here today as far as how to do it. There's a method to the madness, but it works.
Sure. So is it like, do you have to envision yourself becoming that and be that and walk that and talk that to match that frequency of what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to obtain?
You smell it, you touch it, you taste it, you own it, you use every single sense. So if you're trying to get a job, you imagine what it's like to be in that room. If it's a desk job, what is your desk made out of? Touch it. Is it oak? What kind of wood is it? What does it smell like in there? Is there food in the conference room? Go get some. Taste it. So you use all those senses and you visualize yourself as if you have that item. And now you're on that frequency. You're doing this in a meditation. So you're at that frequency of the earth, about 7.83, which is the Schumann resonance. That's where you want to lower yourself to. And once you're there, that's the sweet spot where you can start asking for things. I call it asking, but you're really not asking. Every religion tells us you're one with God and you're a part of God. God's a part of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's probably the one thing that's accurate, is that we are part of the creation of this world. And it's a little bit of you, a little bit of me, a little bit of everybody that's listening. All of our consciousness collectively makes up what happens in this universe. That is the entity in which God exists. So you're part of that and I'm part of that. Why can't we create things? Now, I'm not saying I can create a
Beliefs, man,
mountain.
beliefs.
Yeah. Beliefs and self-limiting ones. That's it.
How did you get rid of your beliefs around money though? Right? Like it was just getting meditation, ask for the $10,000, $28,000, whatever it may be. Did you still have the beliefs, limiting beliefs about money?
No, no, not at all. If you want to get rid of self-limiting beliefs, what you want to do is you want to work on the egoic mind, which is directly picks items from your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like a hard drive, right? It remembers all your experiences from the past. And your unconscious is where your emotions lie and bodily functions. That you don't have to tell yourself to breathe, you just breathe. So self-limiting beliefs are the things that you heard, you saw between the age of, let's say, 2 to 7, when your brain is on a frequency that we call a theta state. And it's there almost all day long. It's an imaginative place. It's where a hypnotist wants you to be when they want to tell you your subconscious something. So when we're kids, for a good 5, 6, 7 years, we're in this theta state most of the day. That's why you talk to your kid who's like 5 years old. You got to say things 3 times. They hear you. Believe me, they hear everything. They may not react because they're almost in this hypnotic type state. So we pick up literally everything. And I'll just give you a quick example. I was like 5, 6 years old and I was playing with trucks under a table. All the adults were at the table and they were telling stories. And what they were talking about was phobias. And my mother said, I'm deathly afraid of heights. So whenever I was asked after that, I was deathly afraid of heights. I didn't even know what heights were. But if it's bad for my mom, it's bad for me, I figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 50 years later, I'm learning to become a shaman. And I get to a certain level. And in order to get my reward, so to speak, which is this necklace I have around my neck, I don't know if you can see it, but I had to go to Peru, climb the top of Machu Picchu, meet the elders of the tribe, the Caro tribe, where the celebration would take place, and I would be given my healing rights. So remember, my whole life, I said I'm deathly afraid of heights. I didn't even think about it. I just went up the mountain. They drive you like it's 14,000 feet above sea level. So they drive you most of the way up, but you still have, it's a good climb. I mean, it's like a good 2 hour climb. And it's not like you can fall off and, that's it. They just sweep you up. It's Peru. They don't care. So anyway, you go up the mountain. I got to the top. I did the ceremony. I came back down and I said to my wife, I said, I'm not afraid of heights. So that was embedded in me. And that's where our self limiting beliefs come from because we're watching television when we're 6 years old, or we're listening to it in the background, or our parents are talking shit about the neighbors or something, and we're listening to it. Or, in my home, they were fighting all the time. So, that's the chaos that I came from. And I had to rewire my own, retrain my brain. I call it retrain the brain. It's retrain the mind, but that didn't rhyme. So I went with retrain the brain. And you have to constantly do this to override the ego, because the ego is going to pop up and it's going to say, no, you're afraid of heights. You can't go up there. Well, you know what? Fuck you, ego. Yes, I can. You're my mom. You're not me. You're a collection of my mom, my dad, figures of authority that were in my life when I was young, and you're this one and that one, and the bully at school and whatnot. You're not me. And when I give that to clients and they finally realize that that voice in their head has nothing to do with them, they are so relieved. You can just see, like, they light up when they have that aha moment, that the thoughts that they're being told are all being driven by other people. You don't even know who you are yet. You haven't found yourself yet if you're listening to that voice. You find yourself in your awareness, which is the top level of consciousness. And that's where your connection is to the collective consciousness. And that is like the internet on steroids. That's where you can get any information you want. You can get anything that you want, but you have to learn how to connect to that and put the ego in its place.
I love all of that. So when you connected with that for yourself, you said you had a spiritual awakening. Was that your near death or was that separate?
Now, the near death, I was only 20 years old. I was still an atheist at the time. And I told my own parents about my mother, and she said, that didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. And I get that, because I died on her watch. There was a fire in the house and gas was leaking. It was going up into my bedroom all night long. I was inhaling it. And that's actually what caused the death. I tumbled out of the bed, and then everybody goes, oh, crap, Ray's up there. And then my father came running up, but I was already out of my body at that time, and I'm looking down on my lifeless body. And it was the most incredible thing that I've ever experienced. Being out of your body, feeling that euphoria. The white light is the most, it's not a light. I don't even know how to explain it. It's painlessness. It's love. It's euphoria. It's just beautiful. It's everything that you can possibly want to feel ever. And trust me, I've done a lot of drugs, and there's nothing better than that light. So, yeah, but when I told anybody, they would tell me I was crazy. And my mother even had me doubting that it happened, because, if my kid died on my watch, I would have repressed the memory too. I get it now. I didn't get it back then. So I had to find a way to justify this. So here's what I did. I figured the white light was the sun. I fell in front of a window and the sun was coming through and it was shining on me. And I inhaled so much gas fumes. I heard the voice and the light and everything else that happened, and it was all just a hallucination. And I put it away and I boxed it up for years. And you got to remember that I didn't have the internet to go to. We didn't have phones. We didn't, cell phones. We didn't have computers. So I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. I'm only 20 years old. But here's the thing. I come from a house of chaos. So chaos is my comfort zone. Now I have an NDE. So I will walk out of there. I don't care if I live or die, because in the back of my mind, dying's pretty cool. And, I know in my heart that that was real, even though I had to box it up and put it away so that I wouldn't talk about it and I wouldn't address it. I knew what I saw and I know what I felt. Right. So then I would just try to up the ante and I would try to put myself in the worst situations I possibly could be in. And, would just literally try to see how close to death I could get again. And that went on for years. And it wasn't until I had my own kids, I got married, I had my own kids, that now I had these two tiny humans that I was responsible for. So that completely changed everything. I checked myself in a rehab, went back to school, finished college, got a great job, worked my way up the ladder, went to another company, worked my way up again, did well. My kids never wanted for anything, never went without anything. And, they really were the initial factor and they kind of changed my life. But all my life, especially after the NDE, I could communicate with energy. In other words, not all energy is just the wall or the floor, the deceased. They say the next realm is right here. It is right here. It's all around us. You just can't see it because you can't see energy. But if you can feel it the way I can feel it, you can know when it's there. So I didn't know that these energies were people yet, but I'll get to that part of this story. 10 years goes by and I decide I'm going to date again. Right. My marriage fell apart very quickly, by the way. And I wanted to wait until my kids were older to bring another woman, around my kids because I didn't want that to mess them up. So I finally decide I'm going to date and I find somebody online. And as soon as I see her picture, I know that's her. And she was one of the examples, like they give you 4 examples of 4 women in your area to get you to sign up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like the third one. And I was like, that's my wife. So I joined the site and I email her. I only send one email to her and I tell her this. And I'm like, this is the only email I'm sending. It's to you. And it's because you're my wife. You just don't know it yet. Oh, and by the way, my name is Ray. And it was a little funnier than that, but she emailed me back. She says, you are out of your mind. I said, yes, I know. I've been told that many times. And we're married and we live here. And she's definitely my soulmate without question. But when we first started dating was the first time I actually saw energy in the form of a human. Because when I met her, I think we were dating 2 months, I want to say. And it was the first time that like this movie screen kind of opens up in my mind. It's my third eye. It's not, I don't see with my eyes. I don't hear with my ears, this stuff. This is all sixth sense. Okay. So it enters the mind. It opens up like a movie screen. And on the screen is usually someone. Now this energy is a person and they're talking to me. And here's this guy and he's got a beard, a mustache, he's got thick black hair, husky guy. And he says, I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. I've never seen anything like that before. I've felt energy. I've seen energy. I've died and come back. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen that. That freaked me out. So, and then he comes back and he does it again and he does it again and he does it again. And it was like a Friday. I remember that was a Friday. I left work. I said, I got a headache. I got to go. And I went home. And on Saturday, here he is again. He's like every hour on the hour. It's the same thing. I effed up, made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. I don't know who the guy is. I don't know what the message means. Well, I think I'm losing my mind. By Sunday, it was almost every 5 minutes. I couldn't function. I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't have a conversation. And I couldn't drive or barely drive. And I was in the store and I remember I got to the counter to pay for my stuff. And I don't know what I did, but the lady behind the counter says, are you okay, sir? And I said, no, I'm not. And I took my credit card. I went back to the car and I sat down and I said, okay, I'm insane. I got to make sure my kids are taken care of. So I literally called my brother. I said, "You got my will, right? You got my DNR. You got." He's like, "You're scaring me. What are you telling me?" I was like, "Just tell me you got power of attorney. You have everything you need. I'm planning for my death, and I'm planning for my kids to be taken care of because this is where I think I'm at. I do not believe this is a real thing. I'm not telling anybody. Every time I tell everybody, I'm crazy, right? So now I have to tell this woman who I just fell in love with that I see things that aren't there. This is going to be great." And to make matters worse, by trade, she's a doctor of psychology and a doctor of neuropsychology. So, you know, imagine, honey, how's the salmon? I see dead people. Would you like dessert? You want to see the dessert menu? So I do tell her because A, she deserves to know, and B, maybe she can get me the help I need. Okay, because obviously I need help. I'm losing it. And I tell her exactly what I see. I tell her how I see it, everything. And she says, I don't get the reaction I think I'm going to get at all. She says, "That sounds like my dad." And I'm like, "Babe, your dad is dead. Didn't he die 10 years ago?" She's like, "Yeah." And now I'm thinking, she's fucking crazy. And I'm getting out of here. Check, please. You think I'm seeing dead people? And she's like, "Yeah, you're probably a psychic medium and you don't know it." And I said, "Well, what's a medium? I don't know any of this stuff." Um, so she says, "Listen, relax. I've been to a lot of mediums and they all say the same thing. He comes through. He's very powerful. He's very close. He's very forceful. He gives the message he wants to get across." And she said, "There's a medium that's coming around our area. She's very reputable. A lot of people know her. I'll make 2 appointments for us and you guys can sit and just, talk shop and you'll find out if it's real." And I said, "Okay, it sounds like a pretty good idea." And he was gone. And I also said, "If it's your dad, there was the discrepancy of the way he looked because I saw the picture of him, and the picture I saw, he was thin. He did not have a beard and a mustache. He looked completely different." And I said, "That's not your dad." And then she went through her phone and she said, "That's an old picture. Let me show you what he looked like before he died. He had put on a lot of weight. He had a heart attack. That's ultimately what killed him." Okay. So I was stunned. When she showed me the picture, I was like, "You know that man?" She's like, "Yeah, it's my dad." So we go to see the medium and we sit down. And she goes, "You going in first?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going in first, but otherwise I'm not going in at all." And I sit and she says to me, she goes, "Hi, how are you, Ray?" And I said, "Well, I'm crazy. I see things that aren't there." And she chuckles and goes, "Me too." And I said, "Yeah, but I think I'm losing my mind." She goes, "Just tell me what happens." And I said, "Well, I get these vibrations, and then I can see these like swirlies and the lines across the room, and then the vibrations get stronger and stronger. And then there's a movie screen that opens up in my mind, and then on the movie screen, she goes, 'Stop.'" I said, "What?" She goes, "That's exactly the way I see it." She's like, "That's the way we all see it." I said, who's we? You're a medium." I was like, "You got to be kidding me." And I was kind of like relieved, but now what do I do with this medium stuff? She took me under her wing for the first year. She taught me how to turn it on, turn it off. And that was the beginning of me coming to terms with the fact I'm not an atheist. It's preposterous to think that we just live, die, and we're out of here. There's just too much happening, right? It was like my whole life they're tugging at me and tugging at me and tugging at me, trying to get me to pay attention. And why, I have no idea. I'm just a regular frigging guy. I don't know. I'm not chosen. I'm not special. I'm nothing. I am who I am. Just a person who was forced to deal with a lot of ugly situations. That's it.
Hmm.
So anyway, I 1 year later, I stopped with that particular medium, and I'm looking for a new mentor, and it's my birthday, and my wife says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know." She goes, "You want to go to Bahamas? You want to do this? You want to do that?" I said, "No, no, 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 nothing like that." I said, "I just want to sit with trees. I want to sit in the middle of trees. I want to hug trees. I want to meditate in trees. Outhouse is fine. Tent, anything." She's like, okay.
Mhm.
She's starting to not recognize me, right? And that's what we do. We get a cabin in the woods and we meditate all weekend long. And she takes a picture out that was drawn by someone of her dad. And it was exactly the way I see him. And I was like, "Babe, that's your dad." She's like, "I know." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, but here's what you don't know. When I see him, that's the shirt he has on. That's the look. That's the hair. That's everything. That's exactly how I see him. Who drew that?" She goes, "A medium." I was like, "You got to be kidding me. Who's this guy? Who is he?" And we pulled him up online, and it says right across his website in big letters, it's like, "Now accepting applications for a 2-year program, 2-year mentorship." And the deadline to apply is February 15th. And that's my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So she's like, "You going to apply?" I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to apply." And this guy brought me to whole new levels. And let me explain. It was difficult to get into this program. It wasn't about the money. It was a 2-year program. It was several $1,000s. I did the application. That's not the application. Then you get the real application. And it looks like a telephone book if you print it out. And you're going to answer all these questions. What happens? What happens this? What happens that? You got to prove to him that you're legit or you're not getting in. Then you do an interview with him after that. Then after that, you get a follow up application that asks you more questions about what happens in this and so on and so forth. So weeks went by and I was just like, I didn't get in. This is not real. Maybe maybe this is all in my head. Maybe I'm crazy. Who knows what? I don't know. I was all the way back there. And so I called his assistant just to make sure that I didn't get in. And she says, "Oh, no, 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 no. We didn't make any decisions yet. There's hundreds of applications." I was like, "Wow, okay. Sorry to bother you." And so you've got hundreds of people and you've got thousands of dollars, right? All he had to do was say, "Yeah, you're all real. Come on in." There was 11 of us that made the cut, and I was number 11.
Oh, wow.
That's the integrity of this guy. I don't know if I could have done that. I really don't.
Yeah, it's
And
tough.
it's a 2-year program, and it's like 4.5 years later, I'm still with him. I don't want to graduate. I'm just sticking with him. He's taught me so much. And he's been like a father, that he's taught me so much. I love the guy.
That's awesome, man. That's such a beautiful story, by the way. You tell it so great. I think, you pull us in, right? And it's authentic because it's your story. But, he's your mentor has taught you so much about mentorship, about mediumship or like the universe in general, like how to connect with that more, how to be more spiritual, like how to manifest, how to connect, how to integrate these higher wisdoms, these higher teachings, higher consciousness into the body, and how we can be here in this reality and function. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest lesson. I think that's the goal right there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that all of the above, to answer your question, it did start out as mediumship training, but there were always times because it's a mentorship. I have 24/7 access, and I can call him and I can ask him questions, and we can go through different scenarios, and he'll explain something to me in a way that I would never have seen it. Right, like that meditation for manifestation. I would never have thought that. I always thought I got to go out and I got to beat the next guy and I got to get the sale or I got to get the job or I got to get this. And it's always about, taking somebody down in order to put me up. Well, no, it's not. That just generates negative karma. All you got to do, is be one with the universe. All of a sudden, I'm one with the universe. Who am I?
Mm,
I'm talking like a Buddhist now, but that's what it is. Now I get it. Now I literally get it. Ram Dass wrote a book. It's called Becoming Nobody, right? Um, at first, I didn't understand that at all. Becoming nobody. Who wants to become nobody? You know, my whole life I was trying to get titles. And the more I can't define myself, the less I can define myself, the less I have no title, the closer I get to nobody, the more I am with everybody,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
sure. Yeah, it's kind of like how Carl Jung talked about the conscious unconscious, right? Like it's almost like the non-being being, like we're being here, like in this moment, aware, but then the unconscious is the non-being. It's like falling back into that, the soup almost. And it's funny, I was watching Dune 2, and this is so cheese, but there's a part in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but where one of the characters dies, and essentially, in a nutshell, these people that live in the desert, they really um, hold water sacred to their culture. So even the dead, they suck the water out of them and use it for something. Well, this individual, this person that who died that was a part of their tribe, they sucked the water out of the body, right? And they wrapped the body and they placed it in the desert, and they took the water back to their main hub, and there's this sacred temple that has this large, like kind of not fountain, but like lake almost, and like underground lake or something. And they took the water and they just put the drops of the water into this large, like community um, lake, I'm gonna call it. But
Yeah.
that was representative to me of like the drops of soul essence consciousness that we are merging back with the whole, becoming, to your point,
Yeah.
the person, and then the non-person, the persona, the non-persona, the being, the non-being. It's like coming back home almost. And it took me like a day to get that, because I kind of just took it for what it was. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. They dropped them back in the water. But then I was like, holy crap, that's like representative and symbolic of like
Totally.
going back to the ocean almost. And I'm curious now, like you had access, 24/7 access to this mentor. Like, what was the biggest insight? Like, what was the question that when you asked it was like the biggest revelation for you? Like, what was his
The biggest
advice?
revelation was the fact that we are co-creators and we are able to create our lives the way we want to make them. No one should be able to take you out of your resonant frequency, which is a very relaxed frequency. If they do, you're not going to be able to manifest anything, right? What takes you out of your frequency? Emotions take you out of your frequency, right? So if you're having a great day, you did your attitude of gratitude, you did your meditation, you're telling the universe you need $1 million, whatever. It has to be believable, by the way. Um, so and you're going about your day and you're planning to do that, right? And then I run a stop sign, I nearly cut you off, and you get all pissed off and you're yelling and screaming at me and mother this and mother that and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I just drive off. And then you go to work and you say, this, you never believe this guy cut me off. And then you go to home and you tell your wife, you wouldn't believe this guy cut me off. And then you go and tell somebody else, well, you didn't manifest anything. You just threw that day in the garbage because all you did, you were out of your frequency. You're out of your resonant. You allowed me the power to take away your $1 million. That's what I learned from it.
Mm.
Don't let anyone take away your $1 million.
I love stories like that because it's practical to everyday life. That's a real life example of what we go through. But I also like the fascinating stories, right? So have you ever had like an example or an experience with this mentor where they've done unbelievable things in this reality? I've been reading Yogananda's book, recently, just studying back up on that, and some of the examples that he gives about gurus and mystics are just, they blow the mind because it goes against our rules, our programs of this reality. But have they been able to demonstrate to you, all the people that you've seen? I mean, you're seeing, you connected with the other side. Have you seen fascinating feats um, in this reality?
From him, you mean? Yeah, he was. he worked on Wall Street as well when he was younger, and he shared with us a story and got very emotional during it. It was in the 90s, and he walked into the World Trade Center and he collapsed and he just fell. He started having a panic attack, and everybody tried to pick him up. What's going on? He goes, you wouldn't understand. He goes, it wasn't, no one knew. And he didn't even know. It was like me going through the process of like, who's this guy talking to me? Right. So this was his beginnings. And he has this vision of those towers coming down.
Mm,
Now, what do you do with that? Who do you take that to?
yeah,
You bring it to the FBI and you tell them I'm a psychic and I saw the towers come down. They're going to laugh you out of the room.
sure.
But that's exactly what happened. And it was, I don't know, 10, 20 years before it did. Now he has to carry that with him. If I know him, he probably did try to tell somebody and they probably did say, you're out of your mind. But he saw it long before it happened. Just by being on that property, he felt the death, he felt the pain, he felt everything that was coming, and he collapsed. That's one of the most amazing things. He also worked for the FBI. He got finds missing children, which I wanted to do that until I heard the horrific stories and I started to see horrific things. And honestly, since I've had my awakening, I don't practice mediumship anymore. I respect the people that do, because it's very taxing on my uh, their I have to take their emotions, and they're always remorse, regret, shame, guilt. I don't want those anymore. I had
Mm,
plenty. I had 50 years of those. Now I just got over the hill and I found my own happiness. And, that I can't do that. I may go back to it one day, but right now my focus is on metaphysics and teaching other people how to get to this place that I got to.
what do you download when you get to that space, when you connect with the the cosmos internet,
It could,
the
it,
Google of the cosmos?
yeah, downloads could be anything, anything. And they come at the weirdest time. So you could be meditating in the morning, right? Several mornings. And then one day I'll share with you a funny story. My wife is going to kill me for telling you a story. She obviously practices too. And she was doing this meditation, over and over and doing her manifestation and whatnot. And she yells from the bathroom, I got it. I figured it out. I can see the whole thing. I figured out, it was the yoga studio and how it's going to come to be and how that we're going to put this community together and it's going to be this beautiful place and everything. And it 100% everything she said really happened. She's on the toilet when she's getting, and so that
Ah.
was a running joke throughout the entire time that we had that place.
She's
But
letting go, man. She's letting go of all the beliefs.
oh God, I hope she doesn't watch this. She's gonna kill me. But that
Oh,
was
that's
really funny.
great.
Yeah, you got brushing your teeth in the shower. When your mind is idle, that's when the downloads come, and they're good. They're good ones.
Do you ever experience or explore, like, I don't know, like I get really curious about like our origin story as human beings. Like, can you tap into that and see different timelines of like, I don't know, like
No,
I mean, no,
no, never. I mean, never tried. Never really. No, I don't think so.
no.
And yeah, the only things I've seen, things that were given to me were really difficult to look at. One time a woman came to me who was murdered. Another one who took his life. A child I saw oversaw a disgusting human being doing a terrible thing to a child, and then I got the alert on my computer that the guy was a sex offender and he moved into my neighborhood. The
Oh, wow.
same guy was just like, yeah, I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how to help these people. I don't know what to do with that.
Sure.
So, I had to walk. Just had to walk away. But um, I I forgot you asked me a specific
It's all
question. I got
good.
I got
No,
off
it's all
topic.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Um, I'm curious now to your awakening. Was it in the woods? Was it the session with the medium who kind of
Oh,
let you know that you're a medium?
that no, that well, I mean, there. I think we have many awakenings on the way to hopefully one day enlightenment. I'm certainly not an enlightened being by any means. I'm working on it, like everybody else is. But I had one of the big one when I was writing the second book, and I was getting near the end of the second book. I was doing all the practices that are in the book. Right, I was do trying to retrain all that let's call it brainwashing from childhood, right? All that data. I'm trying to overwrite my entire subconscious, overwrite it. So when my ego comes up and it flares out and it's just about to come out, I just pause. I pause every time. And that 1 millisecond will change your life because it will prevent you from saying something or doing something that could really alter the rest of
Mhm.
your life, right? Imagine saying the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, or you take a swing at the wrong person, right? So it's that pause that allows your conscious mind to catch up and put you in your place and say, listen, that's your ego. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be that way. So my story as a kid, there was a lot of trauma and a lot of violence and a lot of crap like that. So my go-to was always anger. And if I was sad, I was angry. If I was angry, I was angry. If I was anxious, I was angry. That was where I went to. It was always anger. So one day I've been working on this for years. And one day I'm driving my car and it's snowing out and I'm trying to be very careful. And I missed my turn and I run my car into a deer. I hit the deer. And I had saved a lot of money to buy this car. It was an expensive car, but I thought that was a big deal at the time. Now I think it's laughable, but back then it was a big deal. And normally I would have been like, oh my God, I don't know, ranting and raving. I don't know what I would have done, but that adrenaline surge that I would normally get never came. I was very calm. And I hit this deer. I mean, my car was annihilated. I thought the deer was dead, but I started to worry about the deer. That's it. It wasn't about my car. It wasn't about me. It was about the deer. And it happened naturally. I didn't have to manually do the overdrive thing anymore. It just happened naturally. And I got out and I looked at the deer and the deer got up and walked off. She was fine. It was like unbelievable. And then I'm looking at me and I'm fine. And then I look at the car and the car, well, that's a different situation, but it's just a piece of tin. And I drove the car to the side of the road and I was about to call, we weren't married then. So I was about to call my fiance and tell her what happened. And I got the last digit. And I said, why am I calling her? What am I going to dump my, unfortunate situation onto her? And then she's going to get upset. I don't have any reason to call her. And then I drove my car and I drove it directly to the body shop and I took an Uber to my house and I went to sleep. I didn't lose any sleep over it. I didn't think about it. Insurance is going to pay for it. That's it. It's over. You can't live in yesterday. I can't change what just happened. So why not accept it as though I made it that way so I don't frustrate myself and I don't start giving my frustrations to other people. So the next morning, my kid wakes up and he's like, Dad, wake up. Somebody stole your car. Somebody stole your. I was like, no, 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 no. Nobody stole the car. I had an accident. What? You had an accident and you didn't call me and you didn't call me, man. But are you okay? Is everything okay? I was like, relax. This is why I didn't call you. You don't have to worry about it. Everything is fine. The car's in the shop. I'm going back to sleep. I don't have to get up yet. He's like, who the hell are you? And what have you done with my father? And that was the moment I knew that I was never going to be the same again.
Hmm.
And it really was freaky because I did not know how I was going to react to things anymore. Like I had to re-find who I was. I didn't know the go-to emotions were gone and the reactions to things were very, very different. And for a while, it's confusing. You go through this very confusing process. I thought to myself, well, If anything ever happened to my wife and kids, am I going to be able to, be the aggressive person I need to be? And you start to think like that because, like, just nothing, like Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, nothing is either good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So
Hmm.
it's up to you what's good and what's bad. My car accident was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the greatest day of my life. My traumas that I had as a kid, those were my best days. Those weren't bad. They made me who I am today. If it wasn't for those, I got no business speaking to you right now. I got no business writing books. So it's my worst days, my worst times that were my best times, my best moments. Nothing is either good nor bad. Thinking makes it so.
Hmm. I was just having this conversation today, actually, about the light and the dark. Um, how everybody wants to be the light, right? And I get that. We're always told you are the light, and I get that. But if it was just light, and this, it can be hard to kind of think about this, or it may offend people. But if we were just all light, how would we grow? You know what I mean? Like you have to have contrast in order for growth, to create friction, for change, to expand your boundaries. Like you needed, all the bad stuff that's happening in the world. And yes, it seems like a gross thing to say, but it's like, yeah, I needed 3 years of a dark night of a soul, in my job, to push me and push my boundaries, to become a different person, to be able to grow. I mean, if it was just easy and bliss all the time, like you just stay in that. You would just stay in that and you would never evolve. And
Yeah.
everybody would just be in heaven. Like, why do we come to earth? We come to earth to have these experiences and these lessons. And here it is. This is where we grow. This is the realm in which we mature, as souls, as consciousness, to evolve to the next level. And it's constant. That's what evolution is. It's not being stuck in inertia. It's going out there and creating the friction. It's going to be painful. It is what it is. Um, but to your point, it's what you make of it.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks when you're in it because, and I get that, and I understand that, but at the same time, you look at it from a perspective of after I get through this, the takeaway that I'm going to be able to take away from this is going to be huge. And the bigger the fall, the greater the win when you get back up. Right. And so we don't go through these horrible events um, for any other reason other than to evolve, like you just said perfectly. Right. The Buddha said, um, we have to experience all emotions on the spectrum in order to become enlightened, not just the good ones. He was a prince, right? Everything was given to him. He had to leave the compound. His father said, never leave the compound. On the other side of those walls, it's horrendous. So what did he do? He went on the other side and he looked and he saw the famine and he saw the people dying and he saw the people killing each other. And he was like, it's terrible out there. But if I don't go out there and experience that, I'm only going to understand half the life that I'm living. It was such a contrast and so ridiculous to him. He had to go out and experience it. And nobody knew who he was. He left with no food, no clothes, no water, no nothing. He was a homeless man for at least 7 years that we know of. Self suffering. He did it to himself in order to evolve. And not only is that noble, but brilliant to even be able to figure that out. You know,
Mhm.
I not many people are going to raise their hand and say, "I'll take some suffering so I can grow."
Sure. It's like what the seven hermetic laws, right? Like the law of polarity, and like I really got into studying those, and it's so true. It just seems like things come in waves. You'll just have these times where it just seems like you're in this negative energy, but then it always sways back to the other side, like at an equal force. And then it's the important part is, to Buddha's point of staying, walking the middle way and staying at that 12 o'clock, because once you go to the left or the right, that's where you're lost as far as creating your reality. Like you're feeding too much into the energy of not creating what you want. You're falling in to your old traumas, your old beliefs. And if you could, it's fine. You could live like that. but your
Mhm.
past is going to be your future. You know, like you're going to be living the same life on repeat, and you're not going to get out of that pattern. You're not going to be able to create the reality that you want to for yourself. In order for your future to change, you have to change. Like you have to change. You have to rewire the brain. I get it. You know, the brain is, science proves that the brain is malleable. You know, we're
Mhm.
not born with X amount of neurons. Like we continuously create neurons for ourselves, and so you can rewire it. You can start doing different things in your life to rewire your brain to set you
Right.
up for success, to implement new techniques and protocols into your life to get you into that flow, that state of flow with the one mind. And then I think the important part here is to, when we do these things in meditation, when we do these, particular specific meditations like you talk about in your book, and we access those levels of consciousness, and we tap into that or have a download, it's so important to be able to bring it back into the body and like integrate it into the reality. Like people talk about integration, but what is that really? Because it's something that's unfamiliar. We half the time we're so busy trying to get out of our body, like go into meditation, live in the bliss of the non-physical. Like we don't want to be here, but this is it, guys. This is it. This is why we're here. It's
That's right.
it's the marriage between earth and heaven. We are the body. We are human beings. Are that? It's the marriage between God and
And
earth.
like you said earlier, imagine how boring it would be if we didn't have things to overcome. I mean, it would,
Yeah.
where's the challenge? It's
Yeah.
just, it's not going to be fulfilling. The indigenous cultures, a lot of them have something called, I think it's pronounced habla chia, which means vision quest. And what happens is when a boy is about, I think, I want to say 15 ish, 14, 15, they bring him out to the woods and they rope off a 10 by 10 square area in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the forest, and they leave him there. No food, no clothes, no water, 4 days. They come back on the fourth day and pick him up. By the fourth day, he's downloaded something. He's hallucinated that, he's seeing stuff now. And I don't mean hallucinating in a way that it's not real. I don't mean, fake hallucinate. I'm talking about the real deal. And when you come home from that suffering, you come home a different person. They realize that they're risking young people's lives literally so that they can accomplish that. I don't know if they have fail
Mm.
safes in place. I don't know. But I looked into it because I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. I told my wife, I said, I want to do that. And she says, you're out of your mind. And I said, I know. And then it was about a week later, my stomach started to hurt. And what happened is an infection got into my intestine, right? And I would rush to the hospital because it was excruciating. And I laid in bed for 4 days, no food, intravenous was all I had. No food, no clothes, no water, no TV, no nothing. I couldn't sit up so I could watch the TV. I was right there for 4 days of meditation with nothing. I said I wanted it. Boom, there it was. So be careful what you say and
Be
what you wish
careful.
for.
Did you
Yeah.
you said you started hallucinating?
Oh my God. I was so deep in meditation. I came out of that. I was so grateful for that moment, those 4 days. I saw life completely differently.
Mm.
Completely. And I was already in a good place that I wanted to put myself there to get to a higher. I felt like I was stuck and I wanted to get to a level up. And that's what did it. And that's
Mm.
what did it. I saw it on a TV show. Then I researched it. I put it in the book. And then I said to my wife, I said, I want to do that. And next thing I know, I'm in the hospital bed with this thing and test. I can't have any food. I can't eat nothing. They're just pumping my stomach and putting IVs and that's it. I can't even drink water.
Uh, what about when you became a shaman? Did you have to do anything special? Is it the shamanism that's associated with psychedelics, or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, psilocybin. You mentioned earlier rewiring the brain, and that's exactly what psilocybin can do. And its benefits as a medicine can be you can utilize it. Especially, I'm thinking about people with CT in particular. Imagine, right? What happens when you have CT is you have like these plaque-like buildups that are in the brain, and it prevents the neurons from connecting that used to connect. This is very frustrating to another human, right? But if you work with them with psychedelics, and they can quickly rewire those and get back on track and get back into a good place. Works with PTSD, works with CT, works with many different things. It's not for everybody. It's not a one size fits all. Definitely not. But there's a lot of medical benefits to it, and we really need to go deeper and research this because I've seen some amazing things.
So as a shaman, how do you guide them? Do you take psilocybin with them while they're having their journey? Do you guide them through that?
You take a very low dose. You
And what
take a
does
very
that
low
do? Is
dose.
that to kind of get on the
The-
same level as them?
yeah, yeah. You want to kind of get into the same level, but you don't want to be really on the same level, right? Because they're doing work down there, and then you want to be an observer, and I can go in and I can see what's happening. I can see what's going on, what they're thinking, what they're working through. I can see the energy coming and going. Um, when I went to Peru, the shaman was going around to everybody, and the way that it was a different tribe, and they had a way of going to each person, and the shaman would go inside your mind and read what's going on in your mind. And he goes to like I'm 7 people down, and he gets to me and he blows the smoke, and the smoke is going, and he's looking at my head, and he's looking at my head, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with my head? And I hear, you're a seer.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, it's some dead guy over here going, I'm like, not now. I'm with the shaman. I'm with the shaman. And I hear it again. You're a seer. That's not even a term I would ever use. And then it hit me. It's the shaman. He's talking to me. And I said, yes, I am. And I smiled, and he started cracking up. We did not have words. It was crazy. And that was an ayahuasca night, and he filled my cup like this. He just was like, at that point, he was, yeah, you're coming with me, kid.
So what are some of your experiences on that, right? Like, was it similar to the near-death experience? Like when you take ayahuasca or psilocybin, are you
No,
seeing the same realities as you did as a near-death?
no, there's nothing like a near death. And I'm not saying that so to romanticize it. So anybody goes out and tries it, I was very lucky to be able to come back. But it changed my relationship with death. Like, you know, I'm not afraid of it. My kids are older. They'll be fine. I don't have anything to worry about. It's just like whatever, when the day comes, it comes,
Mhm.
because it's the most beautiful thing. The most beautiful day of my life was the day of my death.
Hmm.
It's crazy to say, but it's the truth.
Sure. So what does psychedelics do? Do they peel away the layer of the veil or is it looking into the collective consciousness? And then when people have those fears that are like maybe of letting go or diving into the unknown, is that when they experience hell? Is that when they experience like negative entities? Like, do the negative entities, are they attracted towards our light because we are living? And how do you guide somebody who's experiencing those different types of hells?
So, okay, there's a lot of questions there. I don't even wait.
My
I
bad,
don't know
man.
where
Like
to
it's just
start.
my curiosity is just fired up right now.
Okay, so I'm seeing their energy, and I'm seeing how it's flowing, and I'm seeing if there is something that there is a negative energy attached. Now, I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in shit like that. Okay, that's not. But there are negative energies. In fact, just about every single person I met came with negative stuff at me. Right. So yeah, it's all around us, and you don't have to let it into you. But a lot of people are um, not prepared to even acknowledge that that exists. And so therefore they're very open and susceptible, right? A lot of people are working in a lot of different areas. And I'm going to be straight with you. I don't know if it's the collective. I can't tell you that yet. I'm not sure. But what I can tell you is where they go gets them to get up out of that space and sit down and see the world in a different place and start studying. It's not a lifelong thing that you do for the rest of your life. I mean, then you're just doing drugs. That's not the idea.
Sure.
You do it a couple of times. That's it. You have that switch. And then you move forward from that point and you start, there's some people that their egos are just so hard to crack. They can't see that there's a separation between their ego and themselves. They
Mm,
think it's one and the same.
mm,
So what they do is this will crack it open and make you see the reality of the fact that you are not what's inside your brain and what you've been programmed to think. And it makes you look outside the box. And then once you're out, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
it's no going back inside the box.
No going back.
Uh, yeah. So it's a it's a higher vantage point or a different perspective.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm. Wow. And then when the shaman said you're a seer, what do you
He
see?
meant, he meant I'm a medium.
A
You have to be a
medium.
medium to be a shaman.
Because when I hear seer, I'm thinking future probability states, future probability timelines, oracle almost.
I mean, I didn't interpret it that way. The way I interpret it was that, you know, um, I mean, I do, I can't pinpoint times. I mean, I certainly have visions, but time is not a real thing, right? We make that up. So to put something on a timeline is extremely difficult. Anybody who tells you otherwise, well, that's very hard. If somebody asks me if something's going to go a certain way for them, I can look into it. But the way I'm looking into it may not be the way you think. I'll give you an example. I knew two people that were going to court. One person, they were both suing each other. One was close to me and asked me, "How's this going to go?" And I said, "You want to know?" And I said, "Okay." So I went in and I went to the other guy. I went to the other person. I went in his head and I saw what his strategy was. I saw what he was going to do. And I also saw that he was going to lose. And I said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get to court and there's going to be 14 motions. And out of 14, you're going to get everyone in your favor. But they're going to do a character assassination on you that's so severe, it's going to knock your block off.
Mm-hmm.
So be ready. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what
Wow.
happened.
What did your friend say when it happened?
You know, she was actually, she was going through a divorce and it was an ugly divorce, obviously, right? And she was very upset. And I said, well, why are you upset? And I said, didn't you get every motion in your favor? And she said, yeah. And I said, so that character assassination is what's bothering you? She, yeah. And I said, that's just your ego. That's not real. That's just what somebody's trying to do to get you like you are right now. Don't give him that. Don't give him that advantage. You
Sure.
won. Walk away as a winner. You won.
But I mean, for you to be so accurate and that
I'm
and,
not,
depi-
I
and
mean,
depicting that.
they, I don't like bring it on. It's either something that just comes. I mean, rarely will somebody say to me, can you just, see my path? Or I can see, and, people always ask me about destiny, right? And there's a certain amount of destiny. So there's some things that I can tell you, but beyond those things, you may change your mind, right? You may get closer and closer. You know what? I saw us having this conversation. This is crazy. Uh, I, and I was like, how am I going to explain this? So if you're shooting for X and your end of your path is X and Y is the unknown and Y comes out of nowhere and comes right into your path, you may decide that X is not the one that you want anymore. You may want to turn and go towards Y because that becomes the better thing. So I try never to tell anybody in absolutes. That's not what I do. I
Mm-hmm.
would never do that. People always have free will and they can always change it. Am I headed in the right direction? Yeah. Am I headed in the wrong direction? Yeah. Or no, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you had a vision of us having this conversation?
I really did. With the X and the Y's, I was like, how am I going to describe this? And I was like, I'll use X and Y's because it's like algebra, the unknown figure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I like that, right? Like as you evolve, your timelines
That
evolve.
I was sitting here and I was like, I'm playing ohms and I was waiting for the clock and that's what I came up with. That's pretty weird. Nobody's going to
Nice.
believe it. Nobody's going to believe it.
Yeah. Well, I believe you,
Doesn't
Ray
matter.
Ray.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Man, this has been awesome, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. I can't believe it's gone by so quick. I feel like we were in flow. How can people connect? How can they buy
Thank
the
you.
books?
Books can be bought Amazon or pretty much any bookstore anywhere. And or you could visit my website, raycatania.com. You can get more information about me, the books, coaching, and everything is up there. And I thank you for allowing me to say that. I really appreciate that.
Sure. I need to say this because it's on my mind. There's something in the water in New York. I feel like they have like the world's largest population of psychic mediums up there. Like everyone I talk to is a medium who is like really,
You think
really
so?
good. Yes.
Oh, well, you
Yes.
know what it is? I mean, we have the Salem area up there and the surrounding area like Lilydale. It is
Mm,
like said to be the Holy Grail because that's where the witches were burned for 300 years. That's why that's why the sixth sense is not in medical textbooks.
really?
Back in the 1500s when they were writing the original manuscripts, the original medical texts, we had six senses, not five.
I did
But the
not know
church
that.
was like, what is this sixth sense all about? And they said, well, they explained it. And they said, well, that sounds like our spirit, our soul. You put that in your book and we're going to kill you. And they put it in the book and they killed him.
Yeah,
And that went on for 300 years. After 300 years, they're like, okay, we concede. We won't put it in the book. We'll have five. You can have the sixth. It's all
sure.
yours. It's a
Yeah.
soul. Here you go. Knock yourself out.
Unbelievable, man. Ray, before we go though, what do you want to share that's on your heart right now?
Um, you know, remember, we're all one. We're all part of one consciousness. And to hurt your fellow man or woman is to hurt yourself. If you believe in the oneness, you know that that's true. And so to help someone is to help yourself. And I try to live by this, like do something for somebody else every day and then do something completely selfish for yourself every day because you deserve that too. And live by that, and just and open your mind and be open to the possibility of the things that we discussed today might be real. Trust me, I was there. I was the atheist. I believed in nothing. Open your mind just a little bit. Let a little bit of this through. See where it goes for you. If it doesn't resonate, throw it away.
Hmm, I love it.
And if
Perfection.
it does,
Thank
go
you.
with the flow. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.